Okay, I think we're live now on YouTube. We'll just wait a little for some persons to join us and also our guest speaker. Hi, Chika. Can you hear me?
Copy that, sir. Copy you loud and clear. Right.
All right.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Hi, Edidiong. Just joined us. Can you turn on your camera? Let's see you. Okay. So, oh, good. No, we can't hear you. Can you unmute your mic, please? No, we can't. Is it your mic? Can you hear me? Oh, okay, but hmm. Sorry, guys, we're just trying to um, correct that technical error.
Please tell me you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you now. It's loud and
Awesome.
clear.
Better.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. I would start by recording this session, if that's okay with everybody. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us on this edition of True Talk with Sam. It's the March edition for this program, and I'm really happy that you are joining us today here on Zoom and live on YouTube. It's a special session because it's also the Easter period. Tomorrow is Easter Sunday, and our Muslim brothers, they're also having their Ramadan likewise. And later tonight, here in UK, we'll be turning the hands of the clock, and then we'll then move on to the British summertime. So it's quite a special edition. My name is Samuel Osarumense. I'm the host and convener of this program, True Talk with Sam. It's a monthly talk series that provides information on how to stay and thrive in the UK as an internationally educated staff. And we also have a session where we share the lived experience and the journey of internationally educated nurses to the UK. And today we have one of our own, Edidiong Udo, share her story. Last month, which was our maiden edition, we discussed how to avoid pitfalls and save your NMC PIN by Dr. Abe Akinoshu, who is a regulatory the employment law consultant. He did justice to that topic. And if you were not in that session, we have our recording on YouTube. You can actually go through it. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click on the notification to get information on when our next session will be on. I would not waste much of your time today. We already have our guest here with us. I would introduce her briefly and allow her to share her inspiring journey to the UK. We have Edidiong Udo. Hope I'm correct.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Edidiong Udo is a registered nurse from Nigeria. She had a nursing training from the School of Nursing, Anua in Akwa Ibom, and she went ahead to obtain her bachelor's degree in nursing. Edidiong completed a training in leadership and management in health from the University of Washington in 2019. She has worked in various establishments as a nurse and also a research nurse. Edidiong volunteered to serve as a nurse for the Live Well initiative and the Hepatitis Zero campaign in Nigeria. Currently, she is the national coordinator for Orphans Corp Nigeria, which is a charity organization that provides and cares for orphans, vulnerable children, and adults in Nigeria. Edidiong now works as a deputy sister in the acute medical ward of Lewisham Hospital in London, and she loves singing and cooking. So please, ladies and gentlemen, we have Edidiong Udo. Hand over to you.
Wow. It seems you've done a lot of research on me, because I remember when you asked me for my biography.
Yeah.
Trust me, I didn't even know what to write, and I just gave you like 3 lines, and the next thing you dropped what could even qualify as a supporting statement, which I can use to apply for another job, you know. So that's really impressive. Yeah, you're meeting Edidiong Udo. I'm from Akwa Ibom by origin, and I'm so happy to be here. I would love to share my experience with you. I was trying to get my PowerPoint presentation, but I don't want to waste our time getting that sorted. Maybe I'll share it later with Sam when after the meeting, but at the moment, I don't want to delay us further. So what I'm going to be talking about basically, I came to UK in 2020, November. Well, to some people that might be a very short time for someone to share their experiences and all of that. But trust me, 3 years is a long time. A lot could happen in even 2 months. as an internationally educated nurse. He has given you my biography, so I don't need to introduce myself or give you a background of myself anymore. But what is more important is that I am a registered nurse, and I qualified in 2018. Worked in Nigeria for about 2 years before relocating to UK. Why did I decide to leave Nigeria? To be honest, when I started my journey as a nurse, I didn't have any intentions to relocate. I just wanted to start being a nurse, start the process. So I went to school with the intention of just being a nurse. And then when I relocated to Lagos in 2019, shortly after I graduated, I met a friend of mine who now told me, have you heard about this relocation pathway for nurses? I'm like, oh, okay. No, I was that naive. And then when that thought came to my mind, I now started nursing it. I was working already in Lagos, and I started the process in 2019, doing the IELTS, CBT, all the registration. It was capital intensive. And my first salary as a nurse was 45,000. I'm like, how am I going to survive on 45,000? So I've gotten an opportunity where I can earn better and also get to explore my options as a nurse outside Nigeria. So I took the opportunity, did all the necessary registrations that I needed to do. And voila, by 2020, I got my first offer. I started in 2019, November, and the first offer I got was in 2020, September. So it took almost a year to get an offer. So I'm just going to chip this in. There are some people who have been on the process. I don't know if there's anyone here who is still in Nigeria and still trying to come over. This is just to tell you that it's not within seconds kind of process. It might take some time. So you just need to be patient. I started my process in November 2019, and I got my first offer in September 2020. So between that time, it was frustrating. I felt like giving up, but I kept pushing because I was working with some friends and they helped me. So yes, I came to UK in November 2020. And when I arrived, it wasn't easy. I've been a Niger girl all my life. I've never traveled anywhere. Okay, I've been to Togo, but it's not like UK. And it wasn't funny at all. I came during winter, so the cold was one major challenge I had. And I had to adapt quickly if I really wanted to survive. I mean, this is something I've worked hard for over 1 year, so I can't just let it weigh me down because of cold. So cold was one thing. The cultural shock. We are so used to calling people sir, ma. Although we here we still have a community of Nigerians who still project our culture. The Yorubas are very good at that. They still greet on bended knees and all of that. Ekarosa, ekaroma. But at work, it is completely different. You meet your colleagues, you meet an elderly woman that you could say, oh, good morning, sir, good morning, ma. And they're looking at you like, okay, we can understand you're just coming from Nigeria, but hello, address us as by our names. So that cultural shock was one thing here. And you don't tell people sorry unnecessarily. I mean, sorry can land you in a very serious trouble. You might just say it as a Nigerian person because we are used to saying sorry, but you could say sorry to someone and it feels like you've done something wrong when you haven't. And that could launch an investigation. So there were so many things we had to learn. I had to learn within a short period of time because coming in November, I needed to resume and prepare for OSCE. I needed to start work. So it was a short time to learn so many things and then get myself infused into the system. Then came the OSCE preparations and the induction process, which took months. There were so many things to learn. We were exposed to so many things that, I mean, back home, you just get your offer letter, you get your employment, you're just shown around the hospital, you're shown around the chief nurse or the matron or someone just to put you through. And that is it. In some hospitals, I know in some big hospitals, it might be different, but I didn't have opportunity to work in a big hospital. But here you're taught on basically everything. So I've been given oral medication. So I'm expected, like, as a nurse, I can just start work today and I can just give oral medications. That's not the case here. I had to basically, like, strip myself of what I knew in Nigeria just to be able to learn and adapt properly and transition into the system without getting into trouble. So the induction process, the weather, the food, like, one of my hobbies is cooking. And I can't be in the country as an Akwa Ibom girl, and I can't cook afang and all of that. So I just had to make do with, I mean, what was available. But in general, it wasn't very easy adapting into the system, preparing for the professional exams, getting used to the trust policies, learning and, I mean, getting signed off on some competencies, and then getting to start work under supervision before you can now be told you can work independently. It was a lot to take in. I wish I could break it down, but it is a lot. And well, I would say it was a bad start, because I remember when I walked into the ward for the first time. When I got in, everyone was just walking up and down. I'm like, what is going on? Is there an emergency or something? But that is the normal way the wards operate. That is just the normal ward. Then if you go to A and E, it's even worse. So when I got in, I was shown where to drop my bag. I spent some time inside that cupboard or cubicle or room, let me put it that way. I'm like, how will I cope? Okay, I've done the training. That's the training. Now this is me in the real world. How am I going to, like, where do I start? And I wasn't employed in a trust that is paper-based. Everything was computer. Everything is computer-based. So you can imagine how learning how to do the drug charts on the computer, documentation, look for blood tests, request for blood samples, so many things, do referrals on the computer. I've learned the theoretical aspect. Now I am here to do the practical work. And the first time I'm walking in, everyone is just walking around. I stayed in that room, and then one guy walked up to me. I was like, I heard there is one Calabar girl here. Please, I hope you came with afang soup. That helped me to relax a bit. And from there, he just held my hand. He was like, I don't know the kind of impression I gave to him when I walked in, but he must have seen that I was nervous. He must have seen that I could faint at that point when I walked in. So he just helped to ease me into the ward, and then took me to a healthcare assistant because if he had taken me to a nurse, maybe I would have had it difficult to start or to learn what I wanted to learn on the first day, because nurses are always busy. They'll hardly have time for anything. So he took me to the HCA and was like, just show her how to establish her patients. You've been assigned 2-3 patients. This is how you're going to know that this is the number of patients you have. This is what you're supposed to do. Just show her around. That was how I started. And being that I've been a nurse already, and you're taking me to work with a healthcare assistant who is, band 3 or band 2, and I'm starting on band 4 as an international educated nurse, some people might feel offended, but I would advise, please don't, because some healthcare assistants are even more experienced than, I would say are more experienced than internationally educated nurses. You are coming into an environment that you have never been before, and there is someone on a lower band who has been here for years. So the best thing you can do for yourself is learn all you can from this person. Having at the back of the mind that some healthcare assistants were nurses. It might surprise you to know. Some of them were nurses who had some issues, and then maybe they lost their PIN and they had no other option but just to go back to be a healthcare assistant since they don't want to leave the hospital settings or they don't have any other option. So don't feel offended if you're coming in for the first time and you're being assigned to work with a healthcare assistant. There is a reason for that. There is a lot to take in. Even if you're employed in a paper-based trust, there is a lot to take in. Don't be offended. Work with them. It was a lot, but with time, I managed. I think I worked with the healthcare assistant for just one day, and the next day I was assigned my patients and attached to a nurse to assess me properly and make sure I'm signed off for some skills like oral medications, IV medications, some minor basic, even as simple as checking blood pressure and temperature. You need to be signed up for it. So I needed to work with someone for about a month. I can't really remember, but I think I worked for about a month under supervision. And during that period, I was still being assessed to see if I was doing okay. And because I'm a fast learner, I was able to pick up in time. My manager was really supportive. So I got a lot of support. I had the Nigerian community that were really, really helpful. I had my band 6s, my band 5s. They helped so much. I didn't really struggle much finding my feet as a nurse in the UK because the people around me helped. And they didn't just come to help because they want to help. It was because I made myself available. I opened myself up for help. If I was the cocky type or said, I know all these things. I've been a nurse in Nigeria, so I don't really need your help. Trust me, there are people who would let you be, and then you have to learn the hard way. But because I opened up myself and made myself available for help, they helped me through my band 4 until I finished my OSCE and I was upgraded to band 5. I was a band 5 from 2020, and then last year, June was when I applied as a band 6. And I am currently a band 6 nurse in an acute medical ward. I'll put it as acute medical ward, but it's more of a specialist ward because we handle cardiorespiratory patients with respiratory issues and cardiology issues. But once in a while, they throw in other patients in between. So it just makes it an acute medical ward. So far, I've not had to deal with racism, I must say. I've never entered any issues with the nursing council or anyone at all. If I've had any issues, are just minor incidents which are expected, because if you don't make these mistakes, you can't learn from them. And no matter how perfect you are, there is always 1 or 2 errors that you encounter while you're working. Remember, I am internationally trained, internationally educated. I am still learning about this job. I've been here for like 3 years. There's still so much to learn. Even as a band 5, forget that I'm a band 6 now, but there are still some basic things in nursing here in UK that I still need to learn about. So as a band 6, I'm still opening myself up for trainings. I'm still opening myself to learn as much as is there to learn. So I get all the supports. I'm progressing in my career. There was a colleague that came in with me in 2020. He is now a band 8. So the fact that I am band 6 doesn't mean that it's because I'm just here for 3 years. It's a choice. I wouldn't want to like jump and be in a position, because here, the higher you go, the more the responsibilities. There's nothing like, oh, I'm the boss now, I can relax and then give out the work to my junior staff to work. No. The pressure is worse when you get higher. So if you're ready for that, even within 2 years, you can climb as high as you want, as long as you feel confident enough to do the job expected in that role, and you have all the skills or most or basic skills needed for that role. But right now, I'm okay as a band 6, and maybe I'll give myself maybe 6 more months, and then I start gunning for band 7. So it's been an interesting one, trust me. I know you want to hear about the money part. Yes, there's money. I will not lie. There's money. It was a motivation. Money was also part of it. Coming from Nigeria, earning 45K, and coming here to earning, So you just need to be wise when you're spending. If you want to be the big boy or the big girl, the moment you arrive or the moment you earn your first salary, it's up to you. But I would advise, when you come here, don't get carried away with the money, because if you do, you can be broke in a way you never expected. You would see the money in your accounts, but because of the kind of lifestyle you've chosen, every month, once you get, let's say you're earning about 2,000, you now decide to live in a very posh house that you have to pay maybe, I'm staying in London, so I'll say if I'm going for a posh house within my 2K salary, and I decide to go for a house that I have to pay maybe 1,000 or 1,100, and then inside that 1,100, you don't have your electricity bills, you don't have your gas, you don't have your subscriptions. By the time other companies, and if you decided to now buy an expensive car, by the time they take all the money, you'll now be left with nothing but your posh life. So please, when you come, I would advise, be wise when you're spending money. Spend your money on yourself, but be wise about it. As a nurse, I would say be diligent. It's not easy. I've seen some colleagues who come in here, they were matrons back in Nigeria, and you're coming in here to start as a band 5. To some people, I deserve more. Yes, there are people who can get higher bands from Nigeria, but it is not easy. So for you to be able to hit a band 6 role from Nigeria, you must have done a lot of research on that role. You must have equipped yourself with the knowledge, what is required of that role for you to hit a band 6 from Nigeria. So if you're coming as a matron, you're coming as maybe you've had 18 years, 20 years experience as a nurse in Nigeria, and you're just coming to start as a band 5, please don't be offended. You can defend your experience, your years of experience back in Nigeria, and within 2 years, you can get as high as a band 8 if you work hard enough, if you equip yourself enough for that role. So while coming in, I wouldn't say forget everything you have learned. No, it's still very, very valid, but that should be as a backup. When you come in, you're expected to, you're already employed as a professional. You're expected to act as a professional. Even though you could give oral medication, I mean, even as basic as paracetamol, and then they tell you that you still need to do training and be signed off before you can administer paracetamol. Avoid the temptation of someone telling you, what is there? Is it not just paracetamol? Just give it. No. There are a lot of people who would want you to take shortcuts and like, what is there? Is paracetamol. Please, please don't give as basic as paracetamol if you have not been signed off, if you've not done the necessary trainings. I'm saying paracetamol because some people might feel, it's just paracetamol. There are things you need to know before you administer paracetamol. No matter how well trained you were in Nigeria. If you bring that here, you're going to get into trouble because of something like paracetamol, and you don't want that. As an internationally trained nurse, there are things we cannot escape here. So that's why we have to be extra vigilant, extra careful, make sure that all your skills needed in your area of employment are updated. Now, talking about shortcuts, I mentioned paracetamol. There are people who have just come to the UK and they start preparing IV medications. And if I am assessing you as a junior nurse, I will tell you, never you ever prepare any IV medication alone. Make sure there is someone there with you. And even before you prepare an IV medication, you must have undergone the training for it. If you don't, I will not assess you. And I've gotten a few incidents on the ward where the new nurses feel, oh, they've been doing it while they were back home, they were doing it, they know how to do, they know all the sites for administration, so they'll just go ahead and do it. And they get into trouble because once they start investigating, who signed you off? Did you do the training? And if all your answers are no, then why did you give it? You are not signed off, you are not competent to administer this medication, don't give it. So please, as internationally educated and trained nurses, when you come in here, just make sure that whatever you are doing, you have been signed off and you are competent to do it. Even if someone tells you do it, don't. You have your reason for not doing it. You've not been trained to do it. You've not been signed off. Even if you've been trained, you need to be signed off before you can do any procedure here. Avoid shortcuts, honestly, avoid it. Try your best to do what is right all the time, even when people are not looking, because the length at which they go to investigate an incident, you yourself will be surprised. They'll bring out a data and they'll even have the time. Yourself, you've forgotten about this thing. They'll be the ones to remind you that on so day at this time, you did this. And you'll be like, how did they know? It's at this point you realize that you've been watched. Maybe you've done a mistake before, or over time you've been doing some mistakes. They've been giving you some minor warnings and you're taking it lightly. And then someone now decides to take it up, puts up an investigation, and you're like, how did they get to know all this? So whatever you do as a nurse here, do it knowing that someone is watching. Always have it at the back of your mind that someone is watching. Never lose guard. Never. Even if you're working with your friends, there is no friend at work in this place. You can chat, you can play, but the moment you have an incident, the moment you have a problem at work, that particular friend will not be able to help you, no matter how highly placed the person is, because that is the policy. That is the way things are done. And they're not going to compromise because that person is equally a nurse. This person is also protecting their pain, and they will not want to sacrifice or jeopardize that for nobody. So please, whatever you're doing, do it knowing that someone is watching all the time. Get familiar with the trust policies, uniform policies, lateness. There are so many policies. It depends on the trust. In your spare time, just try to read one or two things about policies in your trust. For those that have intranet, it's on your intranet or the trust website where you can read it up. Some people go as far as printing them all out and having a folder for it. If you can do that, do it. So if something happens at work, medication policy, uniform policy, or you want to request for a leave, I don't know how to go about it, there is a policy for that. There's policy for rostering, so many things. So before you take any action and someone maybe tries to deny your right because of where you're coming from, you let them know that this is what the policy says. And once you state the policy, trust me, no one is going to deny you of your rights. There are so many advices I could give to internationally trained nurses, but I would restrict it to Don't do anything outside your competency. Get familiar with your trust policies. We love money. I love money. When I came in, I did bank shifts. I went for agencies. I did so many shifts. They would say, oh, we're short tonight. Is there anyone ready to cover? Is anyone available to cover? And I'm looking at myself, this is extra money. Please book me in. But over time, I had to talk to myself. If I make a mistake and they look at the rota and they're like, you've worked 6 days without rest, so you're at risk of making mistakes, and they will not forgive you for that, because there is rostering policy. There is the maximum you're expected to work, and you decided to go above and beyond, and you now put yourself in trouble. No one will back you up. Even if the ward had just 2 nurses, you have broken the law by working more than the expected time. Even if they call you and they're crying blood, please, if you know you've worked maybe like 5 days straight, please don't risk it. Because the mistake you make in an extra shift by breaking a roster rule, that's a different ballgame entirely. They will use that one alone against you, and there's nothing you're going to use in your defense. You might say, oh, you came to help, and they'll tell you this is the law. You were tired, you slept off when you shouldn't. You made this mistake because you were tired. You need to rest. What am I driving at? Let's rest when we should. Don't pack too many shifts. Well, we've had some cases of people slum at work. Some people, it's mostly collapsing and they're dying. And the first thing people would say is, una too like money. You're always packing extra shifts. You're always doing this. There may be other things that trigger that, but the pressure here is a lot. Forget that we all look beautiful on Instagram. We're snapping at fine places. But the work we have to do to have all those beautiful pictures is a lot. And I wouldn't want you coming in as an internationally educated nurse to put yourself through that stress. Find time to rest. Look after yourself. I am currently on sick leave, and they called to say, are you sure you're up to it? And I'm like, I think I need more time. And they're like, no problem. Just let us know on time so we can put out the shifts and you have it covered. And then you take time to recuperate, to rejuvenate, to relax. By the time you go back to work, you are fresh, you are happy, you're more settled, your brain is working well, and you will have no issues. So please, my dear nurses, when we come, let's not just make the money the goal. There will always be money. But by the time you land in a hospital bed, by the time you collapse and die, that money means absolutely nothing. So do everything within your power to rest as much as you can. Take the number of shifts that, is reasonable. Money will always come. Be happy. Make good relationships with people, because that's what has helped me, honestly. Before I go for any interview, my friends who I see as my mentors are not big nurses out there. They're just my colleagues at work, whom I believe I could learn from them. So you don't need to make Dangote your mentor. You don't need to make your head of nursing your mentor. Your mentor could be a band 5, it could be a band 6, it could be a band 8, depending on what you see in that person. For me, the people that I consider as my mentor are people I've grown with. Like my friend that I told you is a band 8. He's a mentor to me. He is way younger than me, surprisingly, but he is my mentor because he's got what I can learn from. So before I go for any interview, I'll just call him up. I have this interview coming up. And he's like, okay, let's set up a Teams meeting. We'll prepare you. And I get it done. So have someone you can look up to, not just having meaningless relationships. Have relationships with people that can help you progress in your career and personally as well. We're not just here to be nurses, even though that's what brought us, but you also need to develop yourself in other areas, not just nursing. So establish meaningful relationships with people that will help you, and be a very good team player. Don't want to say I am an introvert. I know we pretend to be introverts just to stay out of trouble. But when it comes to work, make sure you make yourself available to work with your team. Here, there is no discrimination. Everyone is working together, multidisciplinary team. You have to know everyone that you're working with, from the doctors to the physiotherapist, to the phlebotomist, to radiographer, to even the porters that help you to move things around. You need to liaise properly with your discharge team. You need to liaise properly with the security. Everybody is important when it comes to nursing in UK. So make sure you are a team player. Don't get carried away for any reason. And trust me, you will be fine. My trust is sweet. I have no issues. There might be some trust where you have incidents with people and you always have a target on your back. People are always out there to bully. We've had some incidents of some racial discriminations and all of that. If you find yourself in that kind of situation, make sure you join, what's it called? A union. There is RCN. There are so many unions that are available to support nurses. Don't come here and be a loner, please. Join unions that would be a voice for you if you need help or when you get into any form of trouble. It is very important. The dues might be, you might be paying £10 or £16 a month. It doesn't matter. But they will be there for you if you ever find yourself in any tight corner or any difficult situation. So join a union when you arrive. It is very important. You get to learn from incidents. You get to learn from a lot of things. Make yourself available to learn. Stay up to date with new practices. If they said you have to give paracetamol only via oral routes, and then there's an update that says you can give paracetamol IM or IV, please learn, keep yourself updated. It goes a long way to help you. It makes you relevant, it makes you intelligent. You can speak in the midst of people and they will respect you, even as an internationally educated nurse. You won't be seen as one timid person, no. Put yourself out there, learn as much as you can, and enjoy yourself while doing all of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You covered a lot of things, and I was jotting down some questions, and apparently you've touched on some of them. Let's go to YouTube. I think I was seeing some comments on YouTube. A lot of comments on, they were agreeing with you as regards your statement saying no friend at work. Grace has said that if you know this, you're going to know peace. And somebody talked about reasonable amount of shifts. That is actually a very good one that you talked about. One thing I would want you to stress on is in your statement, you said you started working with an HCA. It's quite a tricky one because just as you've highlighted, some persons get they're not so happy when they are paired with HCAs at the beginning. Probably they could say, I'm a staff nurse, so I should be a staff nurse and I shouldn't be working with an HCA. And I don't know, can you elaborate on that? Because sometimes, let me just give you this. Sometimes you work with an HCA or you are paired with HCAs. When you get your PIN, it's quite difficult for them to recognize that you're not a band 5. And they still feel that, or they get angry, like you should still be maybe working as an HCA, they order you around and do all this kind of stuff. I think some persons have that experience. I hope I'm speaking the mind of some persons here. So please, can you elaborate on that?
Okay, so now I'll start by saying that you need to know that you are a nurse first. It's very important you know your role. It's very important you identify yourself as a nurse. And now when they pair you with a healthcare assistant, the highest rank a healthcare assistant is a band 3. And you're coming in as an internationally educated nurse as a band 4. I hear some trusts start as band 3. I don't know why, but it depends on the trust anyways. But the moment you get your PIN, you are a band 5. HCAs have their roles defined. There are things HCAs cannot do that you as a nurse should do. So if you're being paired with a healthcare assistant, you are not asked to do the job of a healthcare assistant. Like in my case, in my healthcare assistant, since we're all using a computer, I needed to learn how to register, know how to go to my ward, get my patients listed in my own page using my card, because we all have our individual cards. And this is something that everyone, both nurses, HCA, everyone should know. So it was defined what she should show me. I wasn't asked to work all day as a healthcare assistant. No. She was asked to show me around the ward. She was asked to show me how to establish my patients, how to navigate through the, we call it eye care, how to navigate through the eye care, what I need to know based on her knowledge. Now, it's now left for me to decide how dependent I want to be on this healthcare assistant. Knowing fully well I am a nurse, there are certain things, there are certain standards you should not compromise as a nurse. The nurse cannot tell you, the healthcare assistant cannot tell you, oh, it's time for medication, go and give medication. And you're like, I know when it's time for medication. If I am trained to give that medication, I will give it. You have to define your boundaries when it comes to that. So the fact that, okay, when you now have your PIN and some people now find it difficult to identify you as a nurse because you started being paired with a HCA. You ideally, you're not supposed to be paired with a healthcare assistant for too long, maybe just the first day or second day. But after that, you are supposed to be paired with a trained nurse who would now put you through what you are supposed to learn as a nurse. So in my case, it was just that one day. And after that, I was paired with a trained nurse to show me what I am supposed to do. So if you are in a trust and then you are asked to work with a healthcare assistant all through, that is wrong. Because you came in as a nurse. Your roles are defined. The healthcare assistant's roles are defined. So if you're asked to work with a healthcare assistant, maybe one day or two, just to help you to transition on the basic things, like maybe bed making, washing a patient, helping to wash a patient, maybe helping with feeding a patient, or just normal basic things that healthcare assistants do. But the nursing jobs, the core nursing jobs, you should be assigned to a nurse. And if you have any issues with the healthcare assistant bullying you or trying to identify that you are a nurse, you have to state it clear that these are your roles. You don't let anyone boss you around. Or if it's something you don't want to handle, you can always escalate to the nurse in charge of that shift, who would then speak with the healthcare assistant. And if it's still an ongoing issue, you can always put it in writing, escalate to your ward manager, and make sure that everyone knows their place in your ward. So it's a very easy thing. If they find it difficult to identify you as a nurse, you put it in writing and everything will be sorted. Just send an email. You don't need to put in an incident report, except it requires an incident report. But I mean, just sending an email, but make sure you go through the normal chain of reporting, go through the senior nurse on the shift, who would now speak with the healthcare system. Because when the senior nurses, they want to treat us like, I mean, we don't know anything, and they want to start bullying and all of that. So that's why you need to build a very good relationship with your colleagues. I mean, professional relationships with your colleagues. So when things like that happen, they'll be able to support you as a nurse. So escalate to your nurse in charge, to the senior nurses, to talk to the HCAs, because you are new and you don't want to cross any boundaries. If it's ongoing and it's not resolved, you can as well escalate to the ward manager. And if it gets to that point, there is no way it will not be handled. And if it's something maybe that the ward is known for, you can always change your department. If it's not working, if you're still not being treated the way you should be, you can always change departments so you don't get into problems with anyone.
Thank you very much for your elaborate answer. You've actually covered a lot in there. You're not stuck to a particular word. If it continues, you can actually change your word.
Yeah.
You your competencies and you can actually leave that word. I'll give time for our viewers to ask questions, but before we do that, you talked about shortcuts and some pitfalls. I want to refer to our last session where we had our guest speaker talk a lot on a lot of pitfalls. When you were talking about that, I remembered a lot of things he talked about. So we have that recording on my YouTube channel. So you can go back and revisit those pitfalls so you can avoid that and actually save your NMC pin. I don't know if anybody have question for Edidiong. Could do that by raise of hand. On YouTube, you can actually drop your question on the chat box and I would read it out for you. Somebody saying email does wonders. Speaking up is very important. That's on YouTube. All right, we have Chika. Can you unmute your mic, please?
Yeah, good evening all.
Hi, Chika.
Hi, good evening.
Thank you, Nurse Edidiong. You really did wonderful in your presentation. I
Thank
think you
you.
covered a lot. Thank you so much.
My
Actually,
pleasure.
I'm a Nigerian nurse. Still in the process. I'm searching for a job. I have my IELTS and my CBT. So just like asking if your trust is recruiting or if you have any trust that is recruiting, you can just refer us so that we can keep applying so that we will be there with you.
Oh,
Thank you. Yeah.
okay. Well, since COVID and other things, there's been this red list incident. But as far as I know, some trusts are still recruiting internationally trained nurses, sorry. So if you're going on the website, I can't really say if my trust is recruiting because the last time I tried, they told me they were not recruiting from Nigeria. So what I could advise would be when you go on Track Jobs, I don't know what sites you're using to check for jobs. There are some legitimate jobs, not going through agencies that will tell you they will apply for jobs for you or all of that. If you go on Track Jobs or NHS Jobs, or if you're interested in care homes, below the application, you're going to see those who are offering sponsorship. They'll put it out there that they can give out tier 2 visas to nurses. So when you are applying, don't just apply to every vacancies that are out there. Make sure you look down, scroll to the last page. I wish I could show it. Scroll to the last page to where you can see that they are willing to give sponsorships to internationally trained nurses. And then when you are applying, tailor your supporting statements to the job description. Okay, don't just copy and paste, because I think that's one mistake a lot of people are doing and they are not getting the jobs. You just carry a supporting statement from one application to another application. But what you need to do is tailor it to the job description. It's a separate document on that site. So read through the job descriptions and then write your application or your supporting statements based on that job description. It will give you a higher chance of maybe getting an interview. And before any interview, do your research about the trust. And then, I mean, luck could be on your side and you get the offer. But right now, I don't know any trust that is currently recruiting. You can always check it on the job websites. Best of luck with that, Chika.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
much. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Edidiong.
All right.
Victor OJ, your hands up.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sam. I'd like to also add voice to thank the presenter, Edidiong, for a very beautiful job. So much of learnings for me, and I'm sure it's the same for everyone.
Thank you
Right,
so
so my
much.
question, thank you. Yeah, my question here is, of course, there's need for growth in the system as an internationally educated nurse. Some of us like to scale up. What I mean is for registered nurses who want to do their BSc abroad, and also for graduate nurses who want to go ahead to do their masters. What is it like working in the UK? I mean, how does the trust support that? Is there a kind of policy that allows for lesser kind of work, lesser hours of work to allow you go further in schooling, either a BSc or a master's? And does the trust
Okay. So if I get your question right, are you asking for people who are already in the UK or people who are coming in from Nigeria to study? Victor? Okay, I'll just go ahead to answer. If you're already in the UK and you want to further your education, you want to do a BSc in nursing, there are some trusts that sponsors that, and when they do, the school has a calendar. Like currently I have a friend who is studying to be a midwife. She wants to transition from nursing to midwife, and her hospital is sponsoring it. So what they did was to take her completely off work. The trust now sees her as a student. So they have stipulated time or days where she can go into the ward to work as a student. So they are not going to have shifts like the normal 37.5 hours or the way we do as full staff nurses. No, they'll be treated as students. Also, if your trust is not sponsoring, you could let your manager know that you are now schooling. There's something called flexible hours. You work in line with your manager, send an email, work together with your school to let them know, oh, I'm working, but I'm also going to school. How can you help me? The manager can then decide to give you some days off or work with your school calendar to make sure that they can support you as much as possible. For me, I did an online program. I did my BSc here, and I tried. At that point, I knew I didn't have to do a lot of bank shifts, and I didn't want to apply for any flexible hours. That was my choice. I tried to now manage my school days and work days. It was strictly online, so all I needed was just my days off to do my schoolwork, and once that was done, I go back to work. But if you have to go into campus to study, you need to speak with your manager, and then they would now adjust your rota appropriately to suit your study. I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay, yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Except
Yeah.
about sponsorship you didn't say anything about sponsorship from the trust.
No, I did. If the
Yeah,
trust,
you
if
did,
if the trust is the one sponsoring, they would have to take you off as a staff nurse and treat you as a student. So they know now that you are schooling. If it's not online, they know that you have days that you need to go into the school campus to learn and days that you come into the ward as a student to work. So they'll now do something they call placement. They'll send you to different, you're not going to be on your ward. Depending on if you want to be a midwife, then you're just going to be based on the midwifery side of study. But if it's general nursing you're doing, they are going to send you to different departments. They'll send you to the ward, they'll send you to ICU, to ED, just as they treat full-time students here. And I think, yeah, you're still entitled to some pay.
yeah.
They're still going to pay you. while you're schooling, because you were a staff nurse and then you decided to further your studies. So they're still going to pay you, but you're not going to be a full-time staff nurse. They're going to take you out, put you on placement. If you now decide that you want to do bank shifts, that is on you. But that is what the trust would do if they are the ones sponsoring. Okay.
All right.
All right,
Okay, thank you very much. Your hand's up. I also have a question in the chat box.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is and Edidiong is my friend. I came here to support her. I want to reemphasize the importance of support. And before I go into that, I just want to quickly answer to what Victor asked about supporting and, financing. I can remember my previous trust. I did an advanced course and my manager was very supportive. The trust funded the whole course. I think it was about £4,000. And I can remember the course lasted for about, 4 or 5 months. My manager gave me days off, like on my rota. I think every Thursday of the week, she put it as a study day so I could have some time to work on my course and all that. So depending on how much support you receive. So the trust approved the course. They paid for it and I was enrolled in the course. It was also online and sometimes I had to go to the Cambridge campus. So depending on how much support you get from your trust, they're supposed to give you some days off and depending on the kind of program you're going for. Yeah, so I'm just adding to answer to what Victor asked Edidiong.
Thank you so much, Emily.
You're welcome. And I just want to re-emphasize on the importance of a support group and a support system. I actually met Didi when we were about to relocate. In fact, I came a few days after Edidiong came. And we met each other on, I think it was a kind of support group where nurses were relocating. That is how I knew Edidiong. And we've been able to keep the friendship till now. And I can't tell you how helpful this support system have been for me. I remember when I was going for an interview for a higher band, I met Edidiong and I'm like, girl, I need you to help me prepare for this interview. And it was really quite helpful because that also helped me ace my interview. So I cannot overemphasize the importance of support system. So I just want to say, Didi, thank you very much. You did a very, very, very good job. Thank you, girl.
I'm shy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's really lovely. Quickly, we'll go to the question in the chat box. Someone is asking, let me just briefly summarize it, that she's about to make jollof rice for some colleagues at work this Easter, and she wants to find out if it's okay. Actually, I have a good relationship with my colleague, but I'm just trying to be careful so as not to lose guard or be seen as seeking favor. So what's your take on probably?
Well, one thing,
something like that.
One thing I would advise, I love to cook a lot, and it depends on your ward. If there are the type that love having food, maybe they celebrate parties on the ward, that way you would know that I don't think it really matters, honestly. They will not see it as you asking for favor. No, all you just need to do is to adjust the spice. Like let me not say spice, the pepper. And also make sure that you write out the list of ingredients just to warn people that, oh, if you're allergic to maybe curry or this, it was used in this food. But if it's to be seen as you asking for favors, no, not at all. Just go ahead and cook, make it, if you want to pack it individually, just make it as hygienic as possible and make sure it's not peppery at all. But if it's jollof rice, trust me, everyone loves jollof rice. The moment they eat jollof rice, they'll always want more. So just go ahead and cook and give it to them. They're not going to feel as though it's anything. No, they don't have any problems with that. They'll be really happy to have it, honestly.
Thank you very much. Someone's asking for a link or a clue on online school for BSc nursing. So maybe later on she could send it maybe to me. I have your name, Vapis, if there's any you have.
Well, I did with Derby University, DERBY. It depends on your pockets. So I think there's Sunderland as well. I'm not really sure, but at the top of my head, I did with Debbie, and it was quite easy. It's just a lot of writing, academic writing. If you're up to that, just go on Google, and I'll try to make some research about it and send it to Sam as well. But Debbie was where I studied, and yeah.
Tina, your hand's up.
Yeah, good evening, all.
Hi, Tina.
Thank you so much, Nurse Edidiong.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much. Yeah, I'm happy I joined today to listen to all your talks and everything. I want to ask a question. Actually, I've been here for like this is my 6th month now being here, still assessing my pain after the hospital. So my question is, I have a BSc already from Nigeria, but I don't have a BSc in nursing. I have a BSc in microbiology. Now, I want to know, how do I now, maybe I want to do a master's, or because I'm actually a pediatric nurse working in pediatric emergency, but my take is to work my way to neonatal nursing. Now, I want to ask, how does that my BSc microbiology help me with that transition? Does it come into play in any way?
No. To be
Oh,
honest, no. So if you're looking into going to pediatric or neonatal nurses or nursing, sorry, what you need to do is to look for trainings available within your trust if they have the units. Trainings relating to neonatal nursing. That is what you need. That is what you may not necessarily need a master's, or you could walk up to the unit and have a conversation with the manager. You could walk up to the neonatal unit and have a conversation, or send an email requesting for a meeting, stating your intention, and they will be able to put you through. But microbiology, no, except you want to work in the lab. Yeah, but neonatal nursing is a specialist unit, and they have their own courses that you need and certifications that you need to achieve before you can go in. So the best thing you can do is to request for a meeting with the manager, either via email, or you can walk up to the unit and have a conversation with the manager. They are in the right position to put you through. Okay? But your BSc in nursing could just be an addition. But since it is specialist role, you need some specialist courses tailored to that department that you're trying to transition to.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Eddie, for sharing your inspiring journey to the UK. It's been
Welcome.
motivating, and I know a lot of questions has been answered. I want to appreciate everyone who joined in both here on Zoom and on YouTube. The recording will be on my YouTube channel. So please want you to subscribe to the channel and like the videos. And we're cooking a special meal for next month's edition. So
Okay.
see you next time. Thank you very much. My YouTube channel is True Talk with Sam. Just search on YouTube. It should come out, and just subscribe. Thank you very much. And thank you, Eddie, once more. And
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you guys. And thank you for your time. Hope to see you guys next month. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Same year.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh boy. Thank you, Sam. I really appreciate this opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, good.